Now, Vladimir Zelensky has warned that blockaded Ukraine grain stocks could triple by autumn, leading to starvation for millions across the globe. The Ukrainian president estimates the amount of grain could grow to up to 75 million tons from the current 20 to 25 million currently blocked. His warning comes after Russia said it would allow Ukrainian grain exports to leave via the Black Sea on Wednesday. Still, sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine are intensifying. The European Union this week agreed to phase out up to 90% of Russian oil imports by the end of the year. It's part of the latest package of Western sanctions hitting the Russian economy. Now, the EU has already agreed to ban all Russian coal imports starting from August. There's no EU ban on natural gas, though Germany canceled a major new gas pipeline. Russian companies have cut gas to some countries for refusing to pay in rubles. Most Russian banks have been blocked from the SWIFT global payment system. Gazprom's bank is exempt, however, as some countries continue to pay for gas. Also, many major brands have pulled out of Russia, whether on principle or due to payment problems. These include McDonald's, IKEA, Apple, and major automakers. Russian ships are banned from docking in many countries, and major cargo companies have stopped delivering non-essential supplies to its ports. And aviation has been affected heavily as well. Most Western countries have closed their airspace to Russian aircraft, and the EU has banned aircraft sales and leasing to Russia. The country's pilots aren't happy about being grounded.
Alexander is a Russian airline pilot, and now he has a lot of time on his hands. But he won't disclose the carrier he worked for before Russia invaded Ukraine. He is angry with his country and its politicians.
I
certainly call it a war. If someone goes into a foreign country at 4 in the morning and starts shooting and killing, bombing and firing rockets, what would you call that? Without doubt, war. Our flights were cancelled when it began. We stay on the ground here in Moscow. Our wages were cut, while prices in grocery stores were climbing.
The situation has somewhat slowly calmed down in the supermarkets. The empty shelves at the beginning of the war in March have been restocked. And now inflation is less dramatic than expected thanks to the ruble stabilization. But the sanctions are being especially felt in sectors that rely on Western suppliers, especially the aviation industry. Many leasing agreements were cancelled. Russian airlines fear their planes could be confiscated abroad, so they are ending their international flights.
I expect a lot of such situations in the near future. Of course, there is a bigger problem, especially in aviation industry and probably automobile industry, because in that cases the import components are much more important than in other industries, and I think that we should expect some kind of increase in unemployment.
That's already affecting workers from more than 1,000 Western firms that are quitting Russia, including German industrial giant Siemens. 3 years ago, it sealed a $1 billion deal for 13 new high-speed trains called Sapsan in Russia. They travel several times a day between Moscow and St. Petersburg. Siemens has cancelled their delivery and ended its business in Russia after some 170 years. The exit of foreign firms and Western sanctions is weighing heavily, experts warn. Even so, many are skeptical as to whether these measures will force the Kremlin to change its course.
I don't think that they can change the current political situation in Russia and political decisions in the near future.
Pilot Alexander has given up hope for better times ahead, at least for the once proud Russian aerospace industry.
Many colleagues aren't just trying to get jobs abroad, they also want to leave Russia entirely. In my opinion, the current situation won't change for at least another 5 years.
Alexander also has a new job offer in the West, so his days in Russia are numbered.
We spoke earlier to Yuri Reshetto, who made that report. We asked him about the impact Western sanctions are having on Russia.
Well, if you go through Moscow's grocery stores, for example, you would think that there are no sanctions at all, nothing has changed. I would say that the food supply here in Riga, in Latvia, is partially poorer than in Moscow. But if you look at the prices, especially for imported goods, you can see a clear difference compared to the times before the war. Prices have risen substantially for the imported food and drink. But like I said, the supply situation in general has normalized, especially if you compare it to March, when some of stores were suddenly empty. This is mainly thanks to the stabilization of the ruble. But the sanctions are really hurting Russia in all industries that depend on supplies from the West, especially all things that rely on microchips. Also, more than 1,000 Western companies have left Russia. And today, there was more bad news from Moscow. Big Chinese companies such as Huawei are pulling out of Russia as well, probably out of fear of becoming targets for Western sanctions as well.